Good evening, mwashukeni, mwakabwanji, mulibuti, mutazichwane. Hachani chapwe studio, mulibwanji. Welcome to the platform, and obviously this is a special edition of the platform, considering that we have an election on Thursday morning in Pagakuma 18 o'clock. So this is basically an opportunity for us to engage and discuss a number of things affecting our country, and also having in mind that we are going for elections. Today's discussion is around what we can remember. Can you remember? Can you remember? And obviously, to do this, I have Nicholas Piri. Nicholas Piri is a human rights defender, and a governance expert, and obviously he'll tell us more. So what we have is from now to 8 to 20, from 19 to 20, we'll be hearing Nicholas's thoughts and his recollection of what we've gone through as a country in terms of governance, corruption, and all these issues that affected us as a country. Then from 20 to 21, I'll open up the lines and I'll get as many people as possible to share what they can remember. Can you remember? Nicholas Piri, can you remember? Share us what you can remember, my brother.
Good evening, Comrade Fumba. Good evening, our dear listeners, and good evening, my relatives. Muliuli kulundazi, chipata, mulibwanji. Umusanza namla tukawa umusanza mulibuti muzwa mwambanzi abanandi kukopala chano akopala laka so very interesting, and thank you very much for hosting us. And so yeah, what can you remember? You know, there are a lot of things, a million reasons, and a million things I remember, especially that 48 hours from now, I'll be in the ballot casting my vote. But one of the most outstanding things out of everything else I remember is how the people that are employed as leaders took me for a fool. Took me for granted, insulted my intelligence, in the sense that you had certain situations where in the morning somebody tells you, oh, apa pangena mbeva, Pirato buranti pae pangena mbeva. You rush there, mukumbe pangena mbeva, kati kutia mbeva se kushipata. So taenda, oh, pangena mbeva tikumbe tipa, ay, sparangene mbeva chokaponi. And I know, in other words, we saw the period 2016 to now, we saw how the leaders we respected so much, the leaders we thought had the heart of the nation in their heart, in their hands, and cared for us. We saw how they were changing goalposts day and night, with arrogancy, with impunity, without even thinking that, you know, we have little intelligence to tell that now this is hunger speaking. And obviously, one leader who comes to my mind immediately is, you know, Honorable Chimba Kambwili.
Okay, so what do you remember about Honorable Chimba Kambwili?
So what I remember about Honorable Chimba Kambwili is a man that we shared a platform with to condemn corruption, to condemn abuse of public resources, to condemn all traits of bad governance. We stood with Honorable Chimba Kambwili. But today, this is the man who has turned around and changed the narrative completely. He wants us to forget all the things he talked about the Patriotic Front and its leadership, especially President Edgar Lungu.
Okay, let's remember him with the video. So in case people have forgotten, so let's remember Let's
umwine wa chisushi tafisa make kuti umuntu ngani chisushi nangu chinunkashani tamaka mufati bataba palamepo baumfuati awa papabipa pali pipi efini balungu lelo balungu bene ba chisushi tabale umfwa ukulunga kwa chisushi bene ba corruption tabale umfwa corruption ilimo bantu naboni ba corruption.
So umwine wa shupu.
So you see,
you can continue, comrade. We want to hear. Should you need another video? I have a lot of them. So just
I'll let you know. But let us just reflect on what the background of this whole thing. So this particular lamentation by Dr. I don't like to call him Dr. Kambwili. I think the right connotation is Mr. Kambwili, maybe Honorable Kambwili. So the background was that you remember, and I know that's one of the things our people, the viewers are going to talk about, the $42 million for the two fire trucks, a case which at one point you were arrested. Now, you know how I've analyzed that issue, comrade. If you take $42 million and you converted it into Zambian kwacha, and then you said, we are going to do boreholes to provide clean and safe drinking water. Assuming that we are doing one borehole for 30,000 kwacha, we were going to make about 31,500 boreholes from the fire trucks. 31,500 boreholes to provide clean and safe drinking water for our people in the rural areas who drink water with animals. Now, assume that statistically, we assume that 100 people access from one borehole, or 100 households, if you like. So if you take 100 households accessing from one borehole, and then you have done 31,500 boreholes, it means you'd have done 31,500 times 100 boreholes. That gives about 310 or so thousand households, 310,000 households having clean and safe drinking water. You and I probably, Chama, we don't even take water from the tap. Maybe we drink water from the dispenser, we buy these water bottles and so on and so forth. But do you know that there are people who drink, they have to share water. Just here in Choma here, there are villages where people still have to share water with cattle, goats, and all the other domesticated animals. So what they do is that in the morning, they'll draw for water for their home consumption, and then in the afternoon, they'll draw the water for animal consumption. In Zambia, at this point, this thing is happening. So I'm trying to give a background where Honorable Chimbakambwili was trying to come from. Now, assume that we do 310,000, households, we provide water to them. And we are told that per household, we have about 5 people on average in Zambia. How many people do have helped? Would have helped up close to 15 million households. Our population is about 17 million people thereabouts. So what basically that means is that the whole point I'm trying to make is that just from that particular investment that we lost through the wheelbarrows we bought for fire tenders, would have provided safe and clean drinking water to our people. And so when Chimbakambwili was coming on the platform, he was condemning the acts of corruption that were happening under the leadership of His Excellency, the President Edgar Chagwa Lungu. And you remember that President Edgar Chagwa Lungu has never said a word on the $42 million that was spent on for the two fire trucks. And so Chimbakambwili came on the scene and said, you know what? President Lungu cannot say anything about this corruption because he is the owner of corruption. That was the context within which those words were said. When everybody else is complaining, the president has kept quiet because he's the owner of corruption. So that's why he gave that Bemba analogy that the owner of something cannot feel something, cannot smell something. So that was the context where Honorable Chibakambwili was coming from. And throughout, like you've said, maybe you have another video, but throughout, Honorable Chibakambwili insisted that the Patriotic Front, under the leadership of of President Edgar Lungu, was a corrupt entity. At one point, he even said somebody bought a vehicle for Stephen Kampiongo. This is on record. And I'm making this recollection to just make people appreciate how politicians think they can use us like a mob, So this is a Chibakambwili who today has turned around because of the many things that are following him. But instead of fighting his own battles, he wants to use the name of Zambians. He wants to use the name of the poor to fight his own personal battles. And he wants us to forget all these things, Kishupu, and all these things that he said.
Okay,
since
we want to remember, can I play the video so that we can remind ourselves where we are coming from?
Please do.
Thank you very much. So the video is a little longer. I think it's about 4 minutes. Please be patient and enjoy the video.
There is no humbleness. Whoever says President Lungu is a humble leader is being economical with the truth. Lungu is corrupt. That's what he is. So if you have always attended national prayer meetings, little did I know that but for me, I will not shun the national prayers. I will go because I know I'm going there genuinely. But when nimukulanga abantu kufisa corruption yabo. Have I been lying about Lungu's buildings? Go around Lusaka. There's an upstairs building for Lungu. Kuli lie. Kuli building ya kwa Lungu. Pa downtown. Pa building ya kwa Lungu. Apa pa mandapa. Pa mandapa. No. This Leopard's memorial. There are 2 houses there. One big upstairs. Next, 2 plots. Yes. One big upstairs. Go to State Lodge. Over 15, 20 flats being built for Lungu. All these projects will be pamkumo. Niwu pompwe. Niwu pompwe. Straight. Hello. Government. When I came into government, you knew me. I was fatter than this. Yes. But one video by Ishlim government from the minister to let him pictures up. Mwana mwana no kumona tukwa no yumuntu aleiba. Bale muneka kwati bali lwala marasmus. Bale muneka kwati bali wele ba marasmus. Ile lona babuta na batelela kuli ukabolala. People's money. What vehicles did they come with? Tubule feba Lungu. Baishile na Corolla. Lelo isule npanga ndapamia hapo. Nobody nemuye isula gate. Mumone mioto kashimu yadu. Hapo it's only 3 houses away from me. So when I'm talking, I live close to where his children live. And that is abuse of authority. Because Ilianganda, Eobale Kalamu when he was minister, he still maintains it and his children still live there. Kampamba Mulenga says, we are not aware. If you are not aware, Kampamba, can you come to my home? I take you there. We are Isula. Parina police are Elunda Pari. Mukatimuli miotoka fulu. Bafinia kuise miotoka. Vayama Lungu. batitanga n'abalala nga basala otembwiri kuturumu. I must be very frank. Yes. I didn't know the meaning of Dununa reverse. It is now to Aleshana. I know in an Aleshana. I didn't know. It is now that I've realized the meaning of that song, Dununa reverse. It simply meant we are going back to MMD. I have always looked for a chemical to wash my brain. Because if that ni Lupia Banda na Lungu. Yes. President Lupia Banda and President Lungu are the ones who knew that they were taking PF in reverse back to MMD. That is why today the ministers who are in PF are MMD. Elulu imbolwa kutila Dununa reverse. Twali gonga ba PF twali amu reverse.
Yes. Yeah, twali gonga twali amu reverse. I wish quality chemical for washing the parts that dance to Dununa reverse. We can remember. Can you remember?
You know, so there's another clip where he even went as far as suggesting that if he said, I can never go back to PF.
Yes.
If I go back to PF, if I went back to PF, then I'm a lunatic. But the whole point, comrade, is that what you see is the narrative that we, the voters, you and I, and all of us voting, have created to our politicians. The narrative is that they take us for a ride for 4 years, 4.5 years.
That was you by way. Use us for your own benefits.
Exactly. Yeah. They will use us, and then in the Kwasalamanja is 5 months. They will come now. They say, "Oh, we have brought you debt swap. We have brought you this and the other," and then we forget. We go, and actually we are the ones singing the loudest, It's not wrong. There's nothing wrong to support a candidate of your choice. But you'd have to ask difficult questions to our leaders. For example, Shimba Kambwili has now become the champion selling PF to us. The same entity that he told us was corrupt, and not on one occasion, not on occasions, on several occasions, he said the PF was corrupt and was ready to prove it. Today, he's coming back to us with a narrative that you bring the PF back into power. We should be asking Shimba Kambwili, what has gone wrong? Those buildings you talked about for President Edgar Lungu, have they suddenly disappeared? Because he didn't mention the places where these buildings were. Have they suddenly disappeared? What has happened? Vane, this is ngati mnamvera kwati anani uzinga. This is what is happening here. Somebody is using us. But let me not dwell much on Shimba Kambwili. There's another issue that I remember very well. And it has to do with debt, comrade, Carlo Ngongole. I remember very, very well when we did a statement as civil society and warned government in 2015 that the rate at which we were borrowing and the lack of accountability in the borrowing was worrisome. That statement came after we borrowed $3 million of the Eurobond. Now, you also have to remember, much as we're remembering the bad things, let's also remember the good things. In 2011, our debt stock, comrade, was $3.5 billion. Ndiye Nkongole zente zinayo chalo chonse, $3.5 billion. At that time, chuma cha chalo chonse, or what people call the GDP, chuma cha chalo chonse was about $17–18 million. What that meant was that we were able, if we wanted, to pay off Nkongole yonse 3.5 billion and still remain with money to run our own things as Nkongole free people. It is between 2011 and now that our debt officially has gone to 12.5 billion, but the World Bank is actually estimating it at $17 billion. And our size of the economy is just around $24 billion if you want to be generous. So technically, we are a broke nation. Technically, it's like a person, ana salary yake ni 1 penny, but kalo Nkongole zanazo kuma neighbors ni 2.5. That is what we are. This is where we are. And what I remember there is the arrogance, because when we told them don't borrow, I remember very well President Edgar Lungu was in Kanyama, in the garden compound to inspect these corridor things. And he said, we are going to borrow. We are going to borrow to build hospitals. We are going to borrow to do this. You who don't want us to borrow, if you don't want, pack your bags and go. That arrogance, I remember it very well. President Lungu and the whole cabinet yabo, now I'm even surprised they look humble, but they were very arrogant people. You remember Bowman Sambo calling you guys the youth as the disgruntled youth?
Hey, I remember.
You remember Chimbakambwili Wamene when he was the minister of information, I think. Then there was a situation at the University of Zambia where somebody killed themselves because they could not get bursary. Chimbakambwili said the government is not here to give people bursary. Munghali esafuni kopeleka mana wake ku school. Dollar Siria went to Petauke and told people, that audio is also there. Anyway, can you remember? He told people, says, Nabara Mana Omos, because this is what I can afford. Technically, what he was telling people was that but you cannot afford to take them to school. Government completely ran away from its responsibilities to the citizens. Instead of getting answers to the critical questions, we got insults. That I remember.
Comrades, can you
Ladies and gentlemen,
comrades, Apidi? Hello? Bafuriza. Ninshi kuchoma kulibe network? Hello? Comrade, okay, I can see you now. So what I wanted to ask you, can you remember, this is special to me, can you remember a time when bus stations were run by the council and minibus drivers were not paying to thugs at every point? Can you remember that phase of our life as a country where when the councils were running the bus stations, the markets, my bus conductors, my minibus drivers were not paying money to cadres. They were paying money to the council officials who were taking that money to the city councils, and that money was being used by the council to pay their workers, for the council to clean our roads, to clean our town centers, for the council to provide services. Can you remember that? And if you can remember, can you share with us?
Comrade, I remember that vividly because it happened under the reign of Mwanawasa. Not so much in the reign of Kaunda, because remember that in the reign of Kaunda, we only had UBZ. I don't know how old comrade you were at that time, but anyway, we only had UBZ. And sorry?
In 1991, I was in grade 12, term 4.
Okay, so in the reign of Mwanawasa, I think the gist of all that, my remembrance, is the fact that we respected the law more than cadres. And because they were more respected than others,
Bamdara kasoche kan kambosira.
okay, my screen had gone off.
Okay.
So the market and the Bus Stations Act of Zambia provided that councils were going to be running the bus stations, and that was the status. The councils had their workers there with a receipt book. When a bus, is in the station, they receipt you, they invoice you, and there was order. There was no chaos as we are seeing now. But now, what you are seeing is that cadres are more respected than it's a much more respected profession than any other profession. The police officer is not respected. A council worker is not respected. The only profession now which has become so respected and so empowering is to become a cadre. It's so you become rich overnight. When you are a cadre, I remember a time when if you broke the law, the question was not whether you are MMD or PF. The question was, have you broken the law? And if you broke the law, you are going to go in. I remember the same time when President Mwanawasa said in public to the cadres, if you commit an offense, don't use the name of MMD. And if you use the name of MMD and you come to the party for shielding, we are going to surrender you to the police. I remember that period very well. But today, alas, it's a different situation.
Can you remember in the life of our country when people could go to the markets, sell and work in the markets without worrying or caring what their political affiliation was? Can you remember that? We want to remind ourselves that we've not always been like this, We are coming from a history where we were once an organized country. We are coming from a situation or history where in Zambia, the council workers were workers, where the council was in charge of the bus stations, where the council was in charge of the markets, the council was in charge of giving my plots, my chanchani. I want you to be specific when you remember these things, comrade, because most of our viewers may not have been there, and they are beginning to think that it's normal. It's normal to buy my plot, it's normal to belong to a ruling party for you to, if you want to have a stand in market. It's normal for Intercity and every other bus station to be run by cadres. They are thinking it's normal because they don't know better. Can you remember that time? I want you to be very explicit as you talk about these things, because that's where we are coming from.
So I remember, Comrade Fumba, that there was a time in this country when the council wanted to give out a parcel of land. They would go identify that parcel of land, demarcate it into, according to their plans of plots, and then put out an advert to the public advert, or there will be, the Monse Council will be selling plots in this area, and it's therefore inviting applications from interested, people. And we all made applications. And then when the day for interviews for plots came, you were told, oh, tomorrow there'll be interviews. Maybe in the next 2 days there'll be interviews, depending on the number of people that applied. Low cost, high cost, and these kind of things. Would go there to the council, would be interviewed. They will ask you your bank statements, your sources of income, how do you want to build, and all these kind of things. What is your plan? And then there would be a panel. It was not one person. It was a panel of several people. You know, I remember being interviewed in Monze sometime in 2008, and I think there were about 7 people, from my recollection, on the panel, on the council panel, to examine my responses and also my documents. And then a plot was either given or not given, depending on the merits and demerits of the thing that you applied for. And once it was given, then they will give you the minute, the letter of offer, and everything else. Then they will take you to a place, or here is the place. And once you put a slab on that particular piece of land, it didn't matter whether you took 5 years again to visit your plot. You were rest assured your plot is there. Your plot is there. There's a slab there. That was the only structure, and it was very common language. Pakapocha best slab is an plot yako. So people quickly do to box it, na papo slab, then in dramas avuta, they will sit the next 5 years. The day you are going to go to the plot, you'll be rest assured you are going to find your plot, except there'll be now trees and grass and whatever. But you are going to find your plot without what the fear of anybody is going to take it away. But now the situation is different.
What is the situation like now?
So now the situation is that you have to know someone in the system. There's a word in the system, someone in the system. And the person in the system, the entry point is a cadre. So if you know a cadre for a ruling party, it started, and I must hasten to say that this thing started in the latter days of MMD. After Manawasa, then Lukia Banda came, this is where this whole thing started a little bit. But it has been made a profession and institutionalized under this particular regime. So now all you need to do, comrade, is that you must know someone in the system, and your first contact in the system are the cadres. In fact, if you are lucky or unlucky, you don't even have to know anyone at the council. Just go to the cadres, give them money, then the cadres will go and take you. Then they'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, up. Kumbani hapa mdala. 1, 2, 3, 4, up. Kumbani. India plot yana.
Ero fila tampura fikada ngachasa tampura 1, 2, 3.
And so that's why you remember that at one point they even went and invaded some land in Obama, which belongs to some farmer. I think that is Galoon or something. I don't know whether that case is still in court or whatever. But the cadres went, and surprisingly, they even went to Machencheni, you know, Vimazembe, Vikatapila Beach. They went to clear a huge portion of land, committing an illegality. They brought in the daylight like that, and nobody said anything. So yes, there was a time in our history when we were so organized. Plots were properly planned. Or maybe playground, or shops, or a road reserve. So there was a time we were that organized. The places that were unplanned settlements, like Mississippi, part of Chivolia, and so on and so forth. Yes, the history is different, but it was not coming from the fact that we didn't have. It was not coming from the fact of cadreism. But now what you see at even imanga nyumba pa front pa nyumba masapoya peka space kangono cha, but this one is for garden and whatever. The next thing, the cadres will come and give a plot on that particular piece of land. No respect for the law, no respect for the Minister of Lands, no respect for the council. This is where we are today. And the same thing also with jobs.
Yes.
The same thing with jobs. There was a time, comrade, that what mattered was your qualification. Of course, people sometimes, people would say, oh, Nifumba, Nichama, we come from the same place, let's give him a job because of him being Bemba, whatever. Those things we're not saying they're not there. They were there, but the primary thing was your competence. What is it that you're able to bring to the table? But there was a time in our country when things were like that. But today, what matters is for a person like you, or Comrade Jama or myself, we can't get a government job. It's impossible. It's next to impossible.
I can't even go to a public toilet anymore.
It's next to impossible. It was never like that in our country. Everything has deteriorated so fast for us to find ourselves where we are today. But where we are coming from, that was not what mattered. There was a time in our country, comrade, I remember, when a president would deliberately try to balance regional representation in their cabinet. There was a time like that, because you cannot tell me that the only competent people in the country we have are coming from Eastern Province and from Northern Province. In fact, we are not Northern Province, but mnaze, right?
The only sensible people from Eastern Province we know is Patson Daka and Fashion Sakara. What's your problem?
Yeah. So I think we must labor to appreciate where we're coming from for us to have a full extent of what has gone wrong. Today, people are even making funnies. They are making fun of people's names. People's names. Deliberately distorting a name which is straightforward, that then they are calling it if you are ha ho ha. No, guys, you can't do that. You honestly can't do that. Eastern Province, do you have decent names? You have names like Bwezani what? So the point is, yes, there was a time in our country when we were really a marvel, both within ourselves and even people watching us from outside. We were really a marvel. We were indeed a beacon of peace. When they said Zambia was a beacon of peace, it didn't just come from nowhere because we are not fighting. No. It is because of the history where we are coming from. Everything was organized. The law was supreme. And even under the one-party state, by the way, I lived partly under the one-party state. I was too young, but there are a lot of things I recollect, comrade, from the one-party state. Let me tell you one of the things that I recollect, and one of the things I'm going to advocate if there will be a change of government. Whenever a national anthem was being sung, it didn't matter what you were doing, comrade, you would stand, stop, and freeze.
Yes, I remember that as well. I remember that too well. I remember when we were growing up in Ndola, when it's 17 hours, I think it should be 17 hours. When you're passing through or near the barracks, Kalewa barracks in Ndola, there is a horn that would blow, and all of us could freeze. Respect the country, respecting the country that has given us so much that we have.
Exactly. Ngaturi na njinga. Uchova njinga uyenda, then wafika pa school wapeza wandu wamba national anthem. You disembark from your bicycle, pack it fancy, then stand like that. You know what that did? That built a sense of patriotism in us. You know, when we sang in my language, Imanitim Tamande Zambia, Zikola Chimwemwe ndi umozi, Ifetina men, it came from the soul. It came from the soul. And when we were school children, would look at the flag, our flag, look at the flag and salute it. the coat of arms, one Zambia, one nation, meant something to us. There was a time like that. Today, people sing the national anthem. When I watched that song,
and the flag in each thing, cha party. You have no flag of a political party than of a country. If you find a flag of a country, but the flag of a party with the president's head, very clean and everywhere you turn. That's where we are today.
Yeah. So there was a
I want you to talk about one other part of what we can remember is the public procurement processes. I remember growing up as a young man, I could see a lot of adverts for tenders in the newspaper. And my father had some business, and one of the things that I learned through him was when there was a tender advertised in the newspaper, there was it was a very competitive process. You could see him running around, going to accountants, going to lawyers, going to chan, putting the documents together for this tender that was announced. And the process was so stringent that you could not imagine that somebody could flout the process and get the tender. That happened today, considering that we have so many corruption scandals in this country. Like, this country has lost so much money in these tender processes and all of those things. What has happened? Can you remember the time that we could trust public institutions to manage the affairs of our country? Can you remember a time that public procurement was a success story, was effective compared to what it is now? Can you remember? If you can remember, can you share with us what that looks like?
Yeah. So thank you very much. You've brought up a very important aspect. So I'll discuss this in two. I'll discuss it before the introduction of the multi-party system and after the introduction of the multi-party system. So before the introduction of the multi-party system, there was what was known as the code of conduct or code of ethics for public officers. And I think what that did was that even if our procurement processes were not as robust as they are now, but because of the code of conduct, we had people that were ethical running issues of procurement. But also because right from the head of state never said anyone, ubomba mubala, ulia mwibala, batabalia pomona mbuto. Never said that.
That's your brother, eh? That's your brother. Eh? That's your brother. Ni brother wako. Eh? Okay, continue.
So now, because of that, and because of the patriotism that we have talked about, I don't know what we can do. I don't know what we can do to bring this back, comrade, the spirit of, I've had friends telling me, why must vote? Why must come na Zambia? Just do this, then you make money here and forget, and you'll be comfortable, whatever. What can we do to bring back this spirit of patriotism? So the people that ran the system that time were a little more patriotic than we are. So they made sure that their patriotism, the code of conduct, and the laws that were there were followed to the latter. There were no cartels. We never had expired condoms. It was uncalled for. Drugs would expire in the hospital, not buying already expired drugs. No, it was uncalled for. It was unheard of. Look, apart from it being unlawful to buy expired drugs, let's look at it from the moral point of view. imwe comrade munipasa nsima na family yanga yonse muchitoziva ati insima muli poison, but you give me with my whole family at Anenediani. Where have you put your human heart? Away from the law, just humanly speaking. Now we are talking about a country. Mwagula Mankwala to go and give to 17 million people, your citizens. Wamwe Mankwala expired. And you are comfortable, you sleep and drive a jeep. So Kaunda, because of the humanism, the center of humanism was the focus on man. Man me, man you, man us. That was Kaunda. So that time was there, we lost it. When Mwanawasa came, procurement, comrade, the way it was, they introduced these other laws and whatever. But what government did, each quarter that government disbursed money to the different ministries, they would print in the daily tabloids, the daily mail and whatever. They'll say, Southern Province, Tapas and Ramas so, Eastern Tapas and Ramas so, this minister, that minister, and that ministry. And then procurement was within the provinces and the districts. There were some purchases that were done by the province. There were some purchases that were done within the district. Monza district, Aneni, this is money for Monza Mission Hospital, for Monza College of Agriculture, for this and that, Community Development College. And then the business people within that community, within that district, would tender for those things, and then money was spread to them, and they employed other people, and then we had a thriving economy. Today, procurement of choco for Monze, for a school in Monze, is coming from Lusaka. The supply is a Kada.
Serious?
So these are the things that have gone wrong. When we speak, when we remember these things, our hearts bleed, because I was a beneficiary of the Mwanawasa policy. I employed 12 people in my small shop because I had contracts with government institutions, and I didn't know anyone. I didn't know no PS. I didn't know no. The only thing I had was a business name, registered business name, and the only thing I had was that I was a Zambian.
Okay, comrade. We have about 5 minutes to go. I mean, before we start inviting people to share their memories and all of those things. I want you to, just as your closing remarks for this session, I want you to tell us what would happen if the PF won the election. What you foresee after the election. And if the opposition won the election, what do you see happening after the election? So I want you to give us these two perspectives, so then people can have an idea of what's in your mind and what to expect should you be correct.
So the PF has been a very arrogant party, a very arrogant entity, and very reckless. So if they won, the message that citizens are going to send is that we are very happy with you. Well done. Mwabombeni. You did very well in the past 10 years. Therefore, we are rewarding you with another 5 years so that you can double what you did in the previous. So you expect double dose of arrogance. You expect double dose of corruption. You expect our economy to completely shut down, So those three things, expect them. I repeat, arrogance, double dose of arrogance, double dose of poor governance, and complete breakdown of the economy. Why? Because you would have rewarded them for the job well done in the past 10 years. If the opposition won,
yes,
Zambia will have a new lease of life. It's going to start afresh. It will be like starting afresh. And remember that whichever opposition wins has never been in power, maybe MMD. And if you do that, they are also desperate to impress. If you analyze most of these political parties, their first term in office is always good. It is the second term which is always problematic. So if you got the opposition into power, the chances that they'll give you a new lease of life and they would want to impress are very high. But also, our people would have sent a message to politicians like Chimbakambwili and the PF that you cannot use us like a mob, like a bubble gum. It can't be bubble gum love. It can say sweet water pass. No, it can't be that. So that message is going to put the politicians realize that we, the voters, are the bosses and not them. And that would be a very important message for any new administration. But recycling the PF, hard luck.
So before we share the link for the public to participate, I also would like to share, maybe we want to hear your thoughts on what would you say to somebody that still believes that for us it's PF, it's PF, it's PF.
Yeah.
Because they don't like the opposition political parties. They don't like any of the political parties. Yeah. And secondly, because they've been told that this is your chipani, this is your party. What is it that you'd like to say to that particular candidate so that we don't get to that future that you've just shared with us?
So I think let's make it very clear that every one of us, just like I'm expressing my opinion now, another person can hold a different opinion from mine. That's fine. That's okay.
Yes.
But I think that the challenge I have, which I've heard people say, is like, I don't like this party or I don't like that leader. And I want to say to such people that, look, governance issues are not like love issues. Love issues, I have to, but I can't love Pilato anyway. But I have to love someone for me to be with them. But this is different. When it comes to governance, you may not like Sean Tembo, you may not like Fred Membe, you may not like Hakainde Hichilema. It doesn't matter. He's not going to be sleeping with you, dude. He's not going to be staying in your house. No. So your question should be, who is competent? Who is competent to turn things around? Remember that when we were saying, can you remember? Let's also remember where our dollar was before 2011. Let's remember where our national reserves were. We had 4 months import cover of national reserves. Today we are sitting at maybe 2 weeks or a month cover of import of reserves or national reserves. So the question for you should not be whether you like PF or you don't like PF. No, the question is, are they competent? Are they competent to turn things around? You can be arrogant, you can be rich, you can be that. For me, I don't care. But someone guarantee me equal opportunity for employment and business. If you come and remove tribalism, if you come and make Zambia a beacon of love and peace again, then you are my man. I don't care what tribe you are. I don't care where you come from. I don't care your background. I don't care. I don't give it a damn. But are you competent? And as far as I'm concerned, the PF.
Okay, comrades. I assume that you're so Sida Maona Tima Miuza Guranima Chitechi Dum. So I'm gonna ask you, our viewers, to be part of us and share your memories. Share your memories and we hear from you. What do you remember? What scandal do you remember that I couldn't even sleep? What scandal? In the comment section, I've posted the link. The condition is that you need to have a proper name, something that we can refer to, for you to be admitted into this discussion. So I've posted the link. Please use the link to be part of the discussion and tell us what scandal you remember, or if there's a part of Zambia that you've remembered that you think it does no longer exist, where we as a people were very organized, we did better, or we did well. Share that thought and let us remind ourselves, because there are people that do not know where we are coming from. Let me remind you of something that I remember of a Zambia. So we had a Zambia that I'm going to talk about Bamin bus driver. Bamin bus driver, bamule monana ba conductor. At one point, bale ingira femu station, ba songera fikuri ba cancel mukumo bale lipiro tuma daily chani uko. I think tuma daily fees. I don't know what daily levy. Min bus driver ngayadi pila daily levy, yeah, which was very minimal. I can't remember the charge, but it was very minimal. Ngadi pila min bus driver, yeah. Ala bomba the whole day. Takuria tinga wa imina pa Chelsea wa lipila wa imina pa Shani wa lipila wa koneka pa wa lipila. It wasn't like that. What that meant was the business, Zambian businessmen that were running the transport sector had so much profit running minibuses such that they could pay their workers properly, they could divert the investments in other stuff using the profits that they were making. Today, a minibus driver goes to Kulima Tower. Ala dipila ila ine vadipila, ala dipila kada ngalonga wantu wasa imini na pada pakona, ala dipila 20 kwacha ngaenda fika padia, ala dipila 20 kwacha nga. All of that becomes a cost for running business in Zambia. That's where we are now. So now, I would like to hear your memory. Comrade, you disappeared, but I've shared the link and we have people to join us. So you will be listening to the contributions and we'll be sharing thoughts as well. So I'll be getting one by one. Number one is Elizabeth. Elizabeth, how are you?
Good, thank you.
We would like to hear your memory of the scandals that shocked you, that you felt like this is too much. We want to hear you what scandal that was and how you felt.
The honeybee scandal.
The honeybee, yes. Tell us, why did it offend you? Why did it upset you? Why?
What really upset me was the fact that the minister was fired and later on still running other government issues.
But the expired drugs were still confirmed they were expired, right?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Anything you'd like to talk about in that regard, so then we can ask other people to also share?
No.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Honeybee scandals.
So the honeybee scandal was the scandal of the decade. Because I know that in value terms, it was only $17 million compared to the $42 million of the third tracks. Yes. But you see, it had to do with the lives of people. You see, if it was in the United States or other developed economies, we would have done a citizen lawsuit, would have sued the state for allowing the population to consume expired medical supplies. It's a big, litigation that you can bring against the state.
Okay, comrade, I want you to be very, very brief so that we can accommodate as many contributions as possible.
Great.
Hello, Maud, how are you? Hello, how are you? Your microphone is on mute. We can't hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm doing good. And you, how are you doing?
We're great. We're great. We want to share a memory with you. Can you share with us what you remember? What scandal that you remember that really...
The gassing thing, I failed to understand. People were being gassed, people died. But what surprised me was the president was quiet. So really that surprised me.
Okay. So when they said Zambians forget too quickly or too easily, we can still remember some of these things, right?
Yes, it really hurts me, and the Samantha death. That I'm not happy. It really hurts me all the time. I talk about that. And there, the president they will investigate what have you, but they haven't done anything.
Mr. Nicholas P., there is another memory. There is a gassing issue, and then there is a Samantha issue. Just your thoughts on these things, on these two cases, so that we can remind ourselves, because this is important for us to know where we are going. We need to understand where we're coming from.
Thanks, Melody. I think what I can say to Melody is that...
You're welcome. I'm Maud.
Maud, not Melody. He's from Chipata. This stuff don't know how to read.
I'm a ha-ha.
All right.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
So, what I can say to you is that any scandal that lasts longer than 24 hours has the blessings of the state. Any scandal that goes on for more than 24 hours, it's going on, just know it has the blessings of the state. Because there's nothing which is hidden from the eyes of the state. And so that's my comment on that one. On Samansama, I pray that one day we will hear the person who commanded that police officer who is now in custody to pull the trigger, because that is the person who is supposed to be arrested. And as far as I'm concerned, that officer is being used as a sacrificial lamb. The real culprit, there's a command, if let's explain how the command for shootings move. So when you're on the ground and you think the situation is tense, you tell your ground commander. The ground commander will communicate to the commissioner. The commissioner will communicate to the IG. Then the IG will tell you, you shoot, or if the IG is not sure, you consult with the minister. If the minister is not sure, you consult the president. So guns, you don't just open guns, Mongani Malegeni. There's a chain of command. Who commanded that police officer, junior police officer, to shoot? That I hope one day it will come to light.
Thank you very much, Maud. Thank you very much, Nick.
You're welcome. I'm in the blankets. It's cold.
It's cold, yeah. So, hope you guys a great evening.
It's afternoon. I haven't even had my lunch.
Oh, okay. No, we hope for a good afternoon.
You're welcome. Have a blessed night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So then we have Chilufya Kunda. Mr. Chilufya Kunda, how are you, sir? Chilufya Kunda na imwana tumibika kwa mdara chukani. Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
How are you, sir?
Yeah, good evening to you and good evening, Mr. Piri.
Good evening, Mr. Anderson. Are you Mr. Anderson or Anderson who?
Anderson Piri as well. Yeah, I would like to remember when the time the FIC report, the Financial Intelligence Report, when it was released, at one time, I expected the president to take the report seriously and encourage the law enforcement wings to work on it. But you know, you remember when he said Mfwiti, you know, I think it was as a president, it was wrong to react like that. You know, he was the first person to be angry when the names of some ministers were mentioned. Surely that was like, you know, he was shielding the people involved. So that disturbed me. I think that's what I can remember. And I hope the next president, I hope such reports will be taken seriously, because surely it discourages the citizens. It shows that we are not serious with what we are doing, really.
Especially in a country where poverty is a very big issue, you would want to make use of every coin or dollar or quarter that you have, so that you can improve people's lives, even with the little that you have, right?
Indeed, and you know, it gives citizens confidence to say we've got a government which is working. And if as the head of state you are the first person to be angry, really, I don't know what to say. Really.
Thank you very much, Mr. Piri, Mr. Anderson Piri. Yes, Monique, share the thoughts, then we can move to the next question. Sorry, I had to cut him a little quicker. Yeah.
Yeah, so you see, there's something what Anderson said. When the president was saying Mfwiti, he was trying to say that we are name calling people, we are implicating people, when without giving space to the law enforcement officers to work. So clearly he was shielding people, because you see what happens is that there are two reports. There's the one report they release with XXYZ without the names, and then there's the actual report now, which is submitted to the other wings of, you know, security wings, the wings of government, with the detailed names, Pilato, Anastaso. And sure, you cannot tell me that the president did not know. But out of that Mfwiti thing, the thing which has come out now is that the FIC you have today is not the same as the one you had 2 years ago. I raise my case.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mulonga Mulenga. Mulonga, not Mr. Mulishaka Mulonga Mulenga.
Pilato Laga.
Laga sana. Village sticker.
Bigi kare mwangu hapo bigi. Chirishani.
Apa twali pwa. Trefimba fema temono.
Bigi batari bigi imwe. How is safe bigi?
Trisefu sana pe.
Bigi inatinga lipa fe issue ya gasi ni Afrika kuisa. Bwero bosi abapondo baishena panganda pamyanzi abo pamtenge bambo kukakula kwe unschooling amala tapanganda pamyanzi. Lala living in a rented home. We don't know the owner of the 48 houses. How big? 30. Upon vote wise hapa tuli big.
Ufika ni vote wisely.
Mwana wa mubembo ya lera ndo yubatarifye vote wisely. Even God blesses the hand that gives, not to go kwa abasola silo takwa aba big.
Okay, Mamulenga tuate otela.
Okay, boss.
Monique Piri, any reaction to that?
But careful. So when President addressed.
Okay, continue. Then I can add him later. He's still available.
When the president addressed the National Assembly, he, not this one, but the previous one, not the previous one, but the second before the previous one, he mentioned a little bit on gassing. And what he said was that he was considering setting up a commission of inquiry to inquire into what caused gassing. So I believe up to now, the president is still considering, is thinking about it. Maybe when you maybe it's going to institute the gasting issue. But it has remained a mystery, and it will remain a mystery. And we hope that one day, especially if we have a new government, apart from the Chagwa government, if we have the opposition wins, we deserve to know the truth. What was that? What was behind that? Because it will haunt us for the rest of our lives. What are we going to tell our children? What happened? We need to know. We deserve to know.
We have Mr. Samuel Mutambo. Mr. Samuel Mutambo.
Ira. Atani. Laka.
Samuel, memory yenu ya skando ya mikadi tyo mutima bakamba tumkwe kona.
Apa. Tefintu emotwa pitala mwafula mone apa nganshirere nokurara apa pantuliranga natengeresha FFD shizoona kuchivi nganatengeresha FFD shikuchiva ati katushinga twararara apa nomba pawe turife mufuliri so turefu afe ni vote wisely apa pena apa ni vote wisely apa taturefu apa natukave mitima
ni mulasti Okay, Wasamo, thank you very much.
Twatotera ero apa twachipokera kona vini apa nipana konde apa so aivena varendera fe mufioni ife ero venchipare safari ero kumva pete avo varendera fe mufioni ero venchifa turenda twachimona vamwere vachifika akazuva nokupona nechoni paground nokupona nechoni paground ati so ifo vena varipupuka remfa kufati vamananji so nishinshaveshi ati vena varipupuka ifo turenda varitushira fyorukungu chiri fye bwino inkama iri mumutima ni vote wise chapwafi
Sancho Wasamo Sancho.
Okay,
Mr. Bill, just a minute. We want to hear from Mr. Sinaswana. Sinaswana Bwanji, how are you, boss? What memory are you sharing with us?
Thank you very much. Before I get to the memory, I think I want to actually dive much into the memories themselves. I just want to say thank you to you, Pilato, and also the organizations that you're working with, PAAGZ, for providing such a platform where Zambians interact and get to discuss the social and political issues that are affecting them as a country. I think it makes us more aware of our society and helps us to be more responsible in how we react to certain issues. For me, what I'll be talking about, I wouldn't call a scandal as per se, but it's one that I may term as an irresponsible decision by the government. And this happened only last year. And that was when government, through ZCCIM, got into a joint venture with Kama Mining of Sudan, which was a 50% joint venture, which disadvantaged Zambians so much because there was so much revenue that we were going to lose out at the expense of our welfare as a country. So I believe that decision was irresponsible for the government. Like Pilato says in his song, Yama Chinese, God does not just give us these resources so that we can have other people employ us and work for them at the end of the day. No, these resources are for us as Zambians. So Zambians, many youth actually protested this through social media, and we expected government to rescind their decision, but they did not do that. They gave a deaf ear and went ahead with their responsibility. It is at this point that I believe that they do not have the best interest of Zambians at heart. And it was so saddening because they even threatened to break the bonds of the youth for protesting against irresponsible governance. So that is so bad, and we hope the next government is going to do better. And also going to the viewers, I must say, take time to listen to Pilato's Here I Live album. It addresses a lot of social issues that we are facing in the country. I know Pilato has been known to be a controversial artist in the past, but trust me, this one is an exceptional piece. It talks about real life issues that are affecting us as Zambians, and it's something that we need to get to and listen to and digest the message that he gives in there. There are so many issues that he addresses in that one, ranging from gender inequality, social injustice, climate change, whatever you can talk about. Everything is in that album. So please go and listen to the Here I Live album by Pilato. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm truly humbled. So if you want to use
Surely.
the Here I Live album, you can find it on www.iampilato.com. If you are using an Android phone, you can download the app on Google Play. Just search for PIMU, and you have the app, and you have access to the music and the articles that accompany each song. Thank you very much, Mr. Naswana.
Thank you.
Mr. Piri, just share your thoughts on what has been shared by Mr. Siasona, and obviously you can even talk about my music because he mentioned it, my album, and
Yeah, I mean, definitely, Pilato. You know that I'm a huge fan of your music, especially the social commentary one. I'm just surprised that you did that other one.
Which other one is that?
Anyway, some funny song, but I'm a huge fan of your social commentary, and indeed we need to pay attention to what is being said in the songs. Just like Shimbakambuli said that do not invest damage his brain. You have some social awareness songs that can build your brain, and the Pilato songs are very good. Now, Samuel Mutambo and the Naswana are combining the responses to this. I think what I'm getting from these two gentlemen, they are saying to us that, look, we, the voters, are the bosses of politicians, and that must sink into our soul and spirit and head. We are the employers of these politicians, and that's why some of us make noise every day, because we know why we are saying this. Remember that these people, they come and kneel down. But when you put them there now, they say, we'll break your bonds. Bowman today is kneeling down in Kabush. Once you put Bowman in parliament, he says, I'll break your bonds. So I think the message is we are the bosses. And when we vote on the 12th of August, that is not the end. That is the beginning. So 12 mukavote. Once they announce a new president, begin to make noise, begin to talk about the wrong things, begin to point them out. Don't wait until 5 years, because by 5 years it will be too late. Your economy would have been completely damaged. You have no money in the reserve, no medicines in the hospitals. So your job starts on the 13th of August to hold those in power to account.
Thank you very much. I'm calling in Mr. Mana Munene. Mr. Mana Munene, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you, Pilato. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. We'd like to hear your memory. What memory do you remember of where we are coming from? What scandal what scandal were you very upset with? I'm calling in Mr. Mana Munene. Mr. Mana Munene, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you, Pilato. How are you doing? I'm fine, thank you, Pilato. How are you doing?
Your two devices connected.
There's some feedback, comrade. There's some feedback.
Yeah, from 2016, we've been subjected to a lot of jokes by this current government or current regime. One of them that I remember very well is the purchase of the 42 fire trucks at $42 million, which means they were getting one at $1 million. That's like a joke, you know. The second one, I think that actually touches me most, is the recent one from Ministry of Health. The time subjected to a lot of jobs by this current government, or current regime. Yeah, so the second one is the recent purchase of expired drugs or substandard drugs by the Ministry of Health, and it really surprises me that at this point in time, you don't have anyone who is in court as a result of such kind of massive stealing. And then more jokes are that even the person who was at the helm of that ministry at the time of that purchase has been actually adopted by this current regime to actually recontest his seat. So it feels like they don't care about what is happening. Whatever the minister did for them is actually okay. And that's the reason we need to vote them out, so that we can have people who are more sensible, more considerate, and who put the lives of the masses at their heart, unlike this kind of jobs, you know.
Thank you very much, Mr. Munene. We're very happy. We remember those two scandals, and we are very offended, very upset. And
thank you so much for the platform, Pilato.
Sure. Another one. This one is Oscar Pombo. Mr. Pombo, how are you?
Hello, good evening, Mr. Pilato, and good evening, the other colleague, I think it's Mr. Pir, isn't it?
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm calling from Italy. I follow your program because it is quite educative. There are many things to remember, of course, many things, a lot of things which have really disappointed the Zambians at large. But me who stay in Europe for many years now, I stay here for 21 years, I'm staying abroad. So I come, almost every year I come home for holidays. What really has disappointed me is for the last 10 years, what has changed, the way they consider us as Zambians on the flights. You know, most of the flights which are coming to Zambia, Ndola and to Lusaka, they are full of Chinese now. The last this has happened for the last 10 years. Before that, we had clients like British tourists, Italians, we had French people, we had Americans coming to Zambia. Now you have the flights are full of Chinese. And what shocked me is when we come out from the flight, the Chinese are being helped by Zambians at the airport. They take their luggage, and they just spend 2-3 minutes at the checking point, and there they are done and they enter into the country. And I am a Zambian. I am a citizen. And we are there lining up as if we are foreigners, being treated like a foreigner in my country. That has pained me a lot. And that explains all the misconduct that I think many people have been talking about. It hurts when I see how Chinese here in Europe, they tell them to abide by the law. And when I come to my country, I see Chinese doing everything without asking for accountability, without following them, opening China Bank in Ndola. It pains me. It hurts me very much because I don't understand the reason. The meaning of opening China Bank of China very close to, I think it is Mwanawasa Stadium. It's a scandal. I don't understand it.
Thank you, Mr. Oscar. I want to get as many voices as possible.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, and all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello, Piri Mwantisa. So we still need ladies to join in. Mr. Piri, can you share your thoughts on the two contributions?
Okay, so I think the issue that Oscar has raised, I already talked about the $42 million and the expired drugs, so I'll not talk about that one. But the issue that Oscar raised about the Chinese being helped, Oscar, if you're still listening in, maybe you miss it. Not only are we helping the Chinese at the airport, but we had also employed the Chinese in our Zambia police service, 2 of them, to a rank of superintendent and assistant superintendent, respectively. We took Chinese and put them in our Homeland Security Wing, the Zambia Police Service. And Kakoma Kangan was even trying to justify why he put Chinese there. And I can tell you that that is just the tip of an iceberg. So don't be shocked if one day we became a colony of China. It is in the making. That's why on the 12th of August, we have to say no and claim back our sovereignty. Let me end at that.
Thank you. So this one is Mr. Leah Lee. Mr. Leah Lee, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm okay, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes,
Can you loud and clear?
Okay, all right. Yeah, so Ndinam Zambia Naine, I'm calling you guys from the USA, South Carolina, Colombia. I've been here 5 years now. Well, I've been following your program. I just want to say about Pilato, Ziko Mokwambili. It's the first time I'm meeting the other guy. But yeah, Pilato, thank you so much. I follow you. I watch you every time. Great job. And you are one of those people I really respect. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
thank you very much.
Yes, sir. So now I've got one point that everybody seems not to talk about. So in Kanyamakada's, when you remember when the PF came into power, the first thing they started doing was encroaching into people's lands and getting people's lands. Remember? Nobody talks about it now. Nobody talks about it, but that's something that affects a lot of people, a lot of Zambians, and personally, my family was affected. My father right now, his land is taken over. I'm telling you, they've built houses. And the PF, immediately the PF came in, that's when we saw this problem. So I was a staunch supporter of the PF. I'll honestly say that. I voted for them 2016 and whatever. But as soon as they came into power, I was like, oh my God, I made a mistake. Because that's when all these things started. I'm telling you, my father right now, his land is gone. You got people, I mean, he's got like over 60, 50 families that have built on his land. Now look at that. That's somebody that's been affected, and there's a lot of people out there. So you see, right now, all I want is change. I know I can't vote right now, but I'm telling you, I'm doing my best on social media. I'm influencing people. I am telling them to change the government because myself and my family, we just want change. And hopefully when HH or whoever's going to come into power, that's coming to power, they need to look at the issue of land allocations and all these things that the PF did, they have to undo it. I mean, if people have built on people's land, if they've already built, like my family, we say we're not gonna demolish. If you've got land, if you want the title deed, pay for that piece of land. We don't care if you pay the CADA, you pay the PF, but you're gonna pay for it. If you don't pay for it, then we're gonna demolish. But if you pay for it, well and good, we'll give you a title and you can keep your house. So I think that's one thing you should also talk about whenever all these things about the 42 fire trucks, we know those are major crimes that those people will pay for. But the little things like land and all of that, we have to talk about it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee.
Thank you, sir.
Sure, thank you. Mr. Biri, land encroachment and ukunyonga land, corporate land, vamunyonga land. I think you need to share your thoughts on that one as we, but there's no lady to join in. We want also to hear from our ladies. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to, so contribute. We can go on, and then as we wait for a lady to join in, but we've got men already waiting, but I want to hear from ladies also.
Okay, so I think we had talked a little bit, in fact, a bit more in detail about the land. But that's true. The government that comes, whether it's the PF or the UPND, okay, not so much on the PF, because the PF has no capacity to deal with this issue anyway. So whether it's the UPND, it's PEP, it's whichever party comes into power, there's a correlation between security of tenure and development. Why? Because if people are not guaranteed of security of tenure, then they cannot invest in the land. Remember that investment does not happen in air. Investment happens on the land. So a piece of land is a factor of production. So if I'm not guaranteed that this piece of land is mine and I've got security of tenure to the land, then I'm hesitant. I hold back my investment. And if I hold back my investment, even simple investment as building a house, remember that when I'm building a house, I'm going to buy cement. I'm going to hire a guy with a truck to bring sand. I'm going to employ builders. So it has all this ripple effect. So if you don't guarantee security of tenure of land, then this is how now you have limited investment inflow into the country, and you begin to cry, oh no, the kwacha is falling every day. Why? Because there's no inflow, injection of cash into the lifeline of the economy. So I think the issue of land really should be looked at very, very seriously. But there's also another twist, if you allow me, to the issue of land.
Yes.
We need to empower Zambians, comrade, with land. So that when a Chinaman comes to Zambia, my contribution to that investment should be land. If you value it, put it on title, this is my contribution. You are coming with money. Let's partner into this and make a partnership venture. I think we need to address a whole lot of issues around the land system in our country.
Okay, so just because I've tried to ignore this for a little, I would like to also stress, because you mentioned it, I would like to stress that the problem is, and our guarding shouldn't be just specific on the Chinese people, and we shouldn't tend to think that the Chinese people in general are a problem. What we have as a problem, and what we must remember as a problem, is that it is not the Chinese government's responsibility that the interests of our Zambians are respected. It is the government's responsibility, the Zambians' interest, Zambian government's responsibility to make sure that the interests of its people are protected. We feel at the moment that we've been let down. The Zambian government has let us Zambians down, in that they prioritize the interests of the Chinese investors and the Chinese government at the expense of the local people. So what that means is that we, the people, feel forgotten, feel abandoned, and we have to fight, we have to speak for our own. And in the end, they create this bad relationship between we, the Zambians, and the Chinese people. That shouldn't be the case. But we feel this government has abandoned us, and we have to stand and fight for ourselves. In the end, we start looking at the Chinese nationals as a problem, as our enemies, instead of us looking at them as partners and as friends and as a fellow human being. That said, let me get Becca. Becca, how are you, big man?
I'm fine, Mr. Pilato, Mr. Perry. How are you?
Welcome. And would like to hear your memory of a scandal that bothered you, that really, really bothered you.
Thank you so much. A lot of memories, like a lot of people have mentioned it, but what has pained me the most is the death of my fellow youths, in particular, Frankie Mugara and Vespa Zatunza. I don't know, but I'm sure you are aware of this. There was that police officer who got fired in Northwestern for beating up a cat. So it was easy and reasonable for the higher ranks to fire a policeman for beating a cadre, while they have failed to investigate and punish the people who have taken these two innocent lives. I don't know, I haven't followed the story that much yet. As you can see behind me, there's a wallet on the wall, but I don't have a TV. So I don't know how this thing has reached up to now. I know these scandals like the expired drugs, the deployment of the Chinese in our Zambia police service. While as I, a Zambian citizen, I have applied only 3 consecutive times to join the service and have been left out. But the Chinese man just jumped to Zambia from there and boom, he got employed. I don't know how that happens. And so I'm appealing to my fellow Zambians or viewers out there, please let's take this responsibility. It's our duty to change this system. The system is corrupt, I can tell you. They are corrupt, these people. They are only there for their own benefit and not for the benefit of the nation at large. So please let's vote wise and let's take all these memories that people are putting up here into consideration. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Baker. Mr. Piri, your thoughts on that? Then we listen to some more.
Baker brings out something very, very important again, and he says it is our duty. He says, I'm speaking to all Zambians out there, it is our duty to change the system. What else can I add? It is our duty to change the system. President Edgar Lungu is our servant. He's our worker. Kampiongo was our worker. Tutotela was our worker. All these guys are our workers. And even the next president who's going to come and hold his cabinet, they are going to be our workers. And if the worker is not working according to what the boss wants, fire them. So, Baker, you can't be more precise than that. It is our duty. And I challenge all of us young people, all of us Zambians, to take it personal. These are personal issues. Isn't that personal? It's personal. Panadol expired. Isn't that personal? It's personal. So when people say, I know you're taking it personal, don't feel bad. Tell them, yes, I'm taking it personal because governance is personal. So it is our responsibility indeed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Piri. We get Mr. Ephraim Sianduba. Mr. Ephraim Sianduba, how are you, sir?
Good, Pilato, how are you?
Very good, very good. Thank you for joining us. Where are you joining us from?
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Piri. Calling you from Choma.
Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Sandela.
Sure. Mine, I don't know if you will put it as a scandal or what. Something that really affected my life, or something that I don't think I'll ever forget it. It's load shedding. I don't know if load shedding, you tell me it as a scandal, but I think it's as a result of bad governance.
Yes, we want to hear it. We want to hear it.
So where does it come in? You know, Pilato, I was in a theater room, then power goes.
Wow.
Imagine you are in a theater room, you are undergoing an operation, then power goes. So every time I think about that, every time I remember that, it really breaks my heart. Sometimes I shed tears. I had to be resuscitated manually to get back, wait for 5 days, go back to the theater for my operation. Now, these are things that affected my life, affect our lives directly. And you know, when we talk about these things, it doesn't mean we are just doing pamulomo, we don't love this one. No. For me, I as an individual, I've been failed in one way or the other. And this really, imagine you are in the theater room and you ask the doctors, they will tell you how it works inside there. Then your life is almost, you know. So for me, that one I'll never forget. And every time I think about it, every time I remember that thing, it's just like a dream. Then I shed tears. So I believe this is not. It may not be a scandal, but it's as a result of poor governance. Load shedding has continued, and I don't know if it's a normal thing. I don't know, but this thing hit my life, and ish. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. So load shedding is still a scandal. It's unacceptable. I know as people of Zambia, we've been told that we don't deserve much. We don't deserve, like, it's fine, it's fine. If you don't have water in your house for 2 days, it's fine. You don't deserve much. If you can't afford, if you go to the clinic, you don't find medicine. We've been told that it's fine. It should be like that. It's global. But at the end of the day, each one of us is taxed for the purpose of providing those services. Each one of us is taxed so that the government could be operational, could be functional. If you are taxing me and you cannot fund my health, why are you getting the money? If you are taking my taxes and you cannot fund my security, why are you taking my money? So load shedding is a scandal. We've been told that load shedding but we still have issues with load shedding. And one thing that I would also want to add as a memory before you go, and Mr. VP, you also comment on this, is the fact that our women will still love to go with a bucket of, if you have hospital, when going into labor. This is a poor woman. And when they are going to labor, you ask them to buy almost everything and pack and go to the hospital. But these are people that you are taxing already. Why are you getting their monies then? If you get so much taxes from individuals, but you cannot fund their basics, even their health care, what are you doing with the money? Thank you very much, Mr. Ephraim. And Mr. Piri, I want you to respond to Mr. Ephraim's memory.
Yeah.
And proceed.
So, thank you very much, Mr. Sandwa, for that issue of load shedding. You see, it's a system failure. The system is failing. One of my friends, very good lady friend, whose name I'll not mention, told me, "Oh, Nick, I'm due in the next 2 months or so." So, oh, okay, fine. Then she says, "So I want to go to the UK to go and give birth from the UK." So I said, "Give birth from the UK? Why?" Says, no, there you have an option. You can give birth in, you choose how and where you want to give birth from and things like that. It's a bit more comfortable because this is my first pregnancy and I'm scared to whatever, And I was like, oh, okay. So you see, the system failure is in such a way that our awareness doesn't affect them the way it affects the rest of us. Can you imagine? You are asking the unborn citizen, you are asking the mother, "Oh, go and buy this, the bucket, matevera, whatever, all these little things, jiki, scissors, and all these kind of things." Basically, what you are saying to this unborn child is that if your mother has no capacity or your father has no capacity to bring you out to this country, then you are going to go. That's what you are saying. So you are not ready for me as a citizen. You are not even ready for the unborn child. And then you call yourself a Christian country.
And on
the
top
issue
of that,
taxes. You are paying taxes. And then as if that is not enough, you are taking $17 million, you are putting in private pockets. The Financial Intelligence Center is telling you money here is getting lost. They are telling you $42 million for Patrax has gone, and the only response you can give is fuit. The issue of load shedding, hospitals and clinics are supposed, whether you have load shedding or no load shedding, you are supposed to have power backup systems. In case of any failure of power and somebody is being operated in the theater, that power backup must automatically kick in and come alive. And I'll tell you that the University Teaching Hospital, if they bought a power backup, then they bought it 3 months or 4 months ago. Because before then, they never had And on 2 occasions, I was at the UTH. There were patients being prepared to go to the theater, and then power went, and the doctors were panicking. I remember that very well. So it is a system failure. You have no priorities as a country. Simuza unozua tizambira chiti, chiambira kugula ndeke ya mungu moza kazimbuluruka or tukule genset UTH, you don't know, you have no idea. It's a system failure. So when a system fails, even on the computer, we remove it and install a new one.
Okay, we have Mr. Wisborn Daka, but wakupata na mazina shua.
Iwe to teka nyao kuchipata kuti.
Manje Wisborn Chan, Nkalanche na Nzeru, don't give your name. What's the problem? Yes, Mr. Wisborn Daka, how are you, Daka?
I'm very fine, my brother. How are you?
Very fine, very fine. We want to hear your memory. Share with us one memory that bothered you.
Otherwise, the things are a lot, but only 2 things that matter most right now. First thing is about the dollar issue. All the way, the dollar was high. What transpires here that upper PNFA from 22 boom up 19? Where was it all the way? And another thing is load shedding issue. The way I'm using this phone, without talk time, I can't operate it. I can't make any call. But prepaid, I'm like to English Mayanda. What is the meaning of Naingisha Malite Munganda at the end of the day? Aya. Mamonaka.
But whatever that no load shedding, if you see the president's post, it says no load shedding.
Hey. Tafrepanga sensi, otherwise I'm an Easterner. Is my fellow Easterner, but I'm voting wisely this time.
Okay, thank you, Adak.
Okay, Bakalamba.
Mr. Graham. Mr. Graham, we can see you. Okay, Mr. Graham is not available. Okay, so Mr. B, I want you to respond to or contribute or just your thoughts on what has been shared by your brother.
So, Mr. Daka, the issue of the dollar, let me just point out 2 things. One is that, remember that our reserves, our international reserves have dwindled because we also use international reserves to cushion the exchange rate. For example, that madola ya chepa per market, and then the kwacha is misbehaving and it's affecting people. Offload a little bit of reserves just to make sure that madola ya back. Now we don't have reserves, so that was one. The other thing was that Ngongole, we are paying 40% of our budget is going towards debt servicing. So which means kitenga madola mchalo tachosa tapereka out. So there's no dollar, there's less dollar compared to the kwacha. Therefore, the demand for dollar goes high, then kwacha is losing a value. Then the other thing is that our export earnings also, because we are not producing much, our copper production has gone low and all load shedding and all these kind of things. So we are even not exporting much. It means we don't have income that comes through Forex. So all these factors put together meant that our kwacha depreciated. But like you correctly pointed out, 2 days kwacha yakwera, then people are claiming that no, because of our good policies. Which good policies? Because when you came, the dollar was around 7 kwacha or so. Now it's at 20 kwacha. So which good policies are you talking about? The policies that moved it from 7 kwacha to 20 kwacha? So I think this leadership has not been sincere, and this is what pains me. Because you see, when you fail and then you say, guys, takangiwa, at least you are sympathetic. But when people fail and they don't agree they have failed, They say, no, it's global. No. Guys, we are not fools. We know what is at play.
Okay, so let's hear from Mr. Juva Dempsey. Mr. James Simwa Bwanjwa Dempsey. How are you, Mr. James? Mr. James. But James, we can hear. We want to hear from you. Juva James. Okay, it's not ready. Mr. Justin Banda.
Yes, Pilato, how are you?
Very fine, very fine. We want to hear from you. What memory are you sharing with us this evening?
First of all, I'm giving you a credit. Can you tell those people who are playing with network? People are playing with network. What's happening in Pilato?
Stop playing with network. Madam Yuma was just in Banda. They can't stop playing with network. So, Mr. Banda, we want to hear your
what's the issue, Pilato?
We want to hear what memory you are sharing with us. What scandal bothered you? What scandal really made you very upset?
It's gassing, Pilato. People have been killed since the gases started up to the end. Some families have cried a lot with this government. Number two is economically. Pilato, we were buying salary at 14 kwacha, 750 meals. Now it's 40 kwacha. What is happening?
Me, I don't know.
Can you please?
Me, I don't know. Okay, Justin, thank you.
Okay, Pilato, thank you.
All right. Mr. Patrick Chilufya, how are you, sir?
You know, Pilato, I have respect for you. We've got Macregi, bishops, especially by Pentecostal. They've never fought for the poor, and yet the church is supposed to fight for injustice.
It's just money. Money is blessing.
I'm one of them, and I'm so disappointed by Pilato. And then at 3 days of prayer and fasting, what are you praying for? There is injustice. So why do you go and pray, and yet you can come openly and say, Bakateka, this is injustice. Bakateka namufilwa. I think Seleniko Bambi Batekeko. That's the role of the church.
Yes.
Pilato, 52 people killed last year. And the president went into parliament and promised that he's gonna deal with the people regardless which political party they belong to. And then what has happened? Up to today, nobody has appeared in court regarding gassing. 52 people. And then 2 people who were killed in what we suspect as a PF staged thing in Chawama, so that they can bring the army in.
Yes.
They decide to bring the army in. So, and then the corruption. Look at Chitaru Chilufya, my namesake. Where on earth somebody steals $17 million, brings defected condoms, fake medication, expired medication in a developed country where I live? Chitalu Chilufya would be in jail. I'll give you an example, Pilato. David Cameron, when he was coming into power, he had the minister then. The guy was like Davis Mwila, Secretary General of the party. This guy was going out with one of the ladies in the office, like a secretary in the office. So when they formed government in 2010, this guy continued going out with this woman secretly until he came out in the open, and he told the wife, and the wife discovered, and they were about to divorce. And the wife, apparently the wife knew one secret about him. He was caught overspeeding. And in the UK, when you're overspeeding, there are two things that they will do. They'll send a letter to your house and say, Papilato, ni mo mwareisha motoke. Because ni camera imikopele. So you won't know. And then once the camera gets, then it comes to your home. So wala kunuma wala kumkarata wala bika kwati ngate waleisha. Because it might be your brother driving or your wife or your friend. Mulembe ngate mwaleisha. So this guy, because now he knew he was going to become a minister. And in this country, it's a serious thing for a minister or an MP, a public figure to be overspeeding, because you're not setting a good example. So he went to the wife and tell the wife, lie that you were the one who was driving that car. And the wife agreed. And they signed the document, sent it back to the vehicle authority. So the points were deducted for the wife. So when now they were divorcing, the wife spilled the beans. By then he was minister now. It happened before he was a minister. So when the scandal came out, it was in the paper everywhere. The minister has been caught by the Scotland Yard for interrogation, for lying. And the minister refused. He said, okay, sign. Affidavit. He was given an affidavit. He signed. So you've signed under oath. And in this country, that's perjury. To refuse. Yeah. So they let him go. So they started investigating. And Cameron was defending him. Cameron was told, you need to fire this guy. He was caught overspeeding. He lied. And then when they finished investigations, they actually discovered that on that day, the wife was out of town. So there was no way the wife was going to drive that vehicle. So they called him back. And they told him, Bwana, you told us, but on that day, we've got evidence your wife was out of town. And your wife is a state witness. Eventually, the guy agreed and charging. So he was jailed for 18 months. And that was the end of his career. Yeah, we're talking of 2010. Jailed, a sitting minister. So the moment he agreed that he lied, David Cameron dropped him. He resigned as an MP. That guy will never come back into politics of the UK. But in Zambia, Chitalu Chilufya is back. So, and then he might even become a minister again. So, what signals is Lungu sending to Zambians? One, we are stupid, we gullible. He can do whatever he wants to do. So Chitalu Chilufya, if Lungu had to win, God forbid, will be a minister. So that means that scandal Chitalu Chilufya was involved in, Lungu was involved. There's no doubt. But also it's an insult to you and me, Pilato, that you are stupid. Even if you don't vote for me, I'll still win. But on the 12th, I think Zambians needs to put their foot down and say enough is enough. Lungu has to go, because beyond this, Pilato, Zambia will be worse than Zimbabwe. You saw the letter the senator of the Senate in the American Senator Menendez. He's the chair of the international affairs in the Senate. That letter is very strong. Mugabe was told the same thing that letter contains, that if you do that kind of nonsense in the elections, we're going to impose sanctions. And they did it. Now the problem is sanctions will make Zambians suffer. We even suffer more than the way we're suffering. But Lungu and but Lungu and them, they don't care. They don't care.
I want to we can wind up the program with over on time.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so Mr. Peter, I'm gonna get two. I have two more. Just I'm gonna give them a minute. Then you can conclude, and then we can say goodbye. Himba Mioba, how are you?
Hi, comrade. How are you?
Very fine, very fine. Thank you for joining us. We are giving you a minute just to share your memory or your thoughts, and then.
Good evening, Comrade Plato, and the other comrade. Nemusu nitepa okulanda muchibemba. Usungute sana. Comrade nechinkalipa lyashya gassing. Ningufa bamona abalandapo. They've talked about it, and they've said how they feel. But believe me, that issue makes me grieve every day. It makes me feel so hurt that even our president could not even reassure the nation, could not even address the nation. That is taking people for granted. Abantu balifwa, they were injured. And today he's even coming out like nothing happened. All was well. Meanwhile, people lost their beloved ones. And I've been saying, if they're asking for a vote, all they're simply doing, they're insulting us. They're saying, I can kill you as Zambian people. I can insult you as Zambian people, but you still have to give me a vote. That's what our leaders are saying. Because right now, our president has not even given us the report, has not even brought anybody to book. And who doesn't care for a young life, comrade? And even now, they are okay. Then secondly, the minister, and now he's coming back. He wants to stand as an MP. So what are they saying? But then the time women in Zambia, us will be chewing, will be stealing, but at the end of the day, have to give us a vote. Who do they take us for? Then lastly, and even the NGO world, where are they? Because in other parts of the world, you can't stand and insult a woman like that. And no one commented, no one condemned it. Is that the generation we want our children to grow in? Is that the Zambia we want tomorrow? So it's like our leaders, they feel that they are not accountable to us. Okay, politicians, even whoever is coming into government, I pray hard that they're going to respect the will of the people. They are going to respect our rights, and they are going to be accountable. They should tell us what we want, comrade. They should explain. They should feel mandated that we voted for them.
Thank you very much, comrade. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, comrade.
Mr. Wezi K, you are the last participant. We want to hear your contribution, and under 1 minute, then we conclude. Wezi K, Wezi K. Mr. Wezi K, it's you. We want to hear you.
Yeah,
I would like to appreciate the opportunity that you've given me.
Yes, we want to hear your memory. What memory bothers you? Oh, network. Okay, but where is it? We can't hear you. Your microphone is on mute. Your microphone is on mute, Mr. Bawez. Bawez, your microphone is on mute. Can you unmute and then you share your thoughts?
Teacher,
Okay, so now
where we
we
were
can hear you.
promised to say that there is the internship program that is coming, and that just ended as a myth, just like that. Where hello, are you able to get me?
We can hear you now. So maybe start your contribution. Start from
Okay.
A to Z. Yeah.
Okay, you're able to get me now?
Yes.
Yeah, my contribution is about the unemployment levels in our country, where some of us that are in the education sector were promised, say, there are programs that will help us. Yeah, the unemployment issue, yes, especially concerning the issue of the youths, because usually we've seen the swelling numbers of youths becoming cadres today. It's usually because of the high unemployment levels. Now we've heard a lot of government promises where we've been promised to say, like in the education sector, we're told to say there is the issue of the internship, where teachers will be given chances to work, especially where we need to balance up the teacher-pupil ratio problem, of which we haven't seen that coming to pass. Then the other thing is on the passing on the student lab tech that passed during the onset of COVID, when he was taking samples in Kabombo.
Yes.
Yeah, those are some of the issues that still lingers on my mind when I get to think about it. In as much as we are the future leaders of tomorrow, I believe we can be given a better platform and better opportunities, so that even as we take over as leaders in the future, we also have that heart, because we were given a foundation. So that's what my memories are.
Okay, thank you very much, Wendy. Have a good evening. Mr. Thierry, I want you to comment on all this we've heard in your concluding remarks.
So let me start with Wezi. Wezi, the issue that happened in Kabompo, where our colleague was going to deliver the COVID samples, was a very sad reading, especially given that program, that time the COVID was heavily funded. We had money to do that. There was completely no need for somebody on duty to have gotten on private transport. But allow me also ways to make a correction to you, if you like, that you are not a future leader. That's a lie. That's a lie they have used to make you not take responsibility of your today. The future is today. So you are a leader today. You are a leader now. So don't wait for tomorrow, because tomorrow never comes. And this is the reason why all of us as young people must stand up and say, we are the leaders now. We are the leaders today. We are going to ask the right questions. We are going to ask for accountability. Mr. Chiluvya talked about there's one thing I want to pick from his submissions, maybe two things.
Yes.
The first one is the issue of Christianity and politics. And he asked the question, he said, why? Why do they say, let's pray about this, and then they do the opposite? It's very simple. Why they do that is because it is very easy to manipulate a person's mind by using Christianity and the Bible in particular. You come and say, oh, I'm a humble leader. God gave me to you. Therefore, whatever I do, don't question, says the Lord. And because people are so afraid of God and Jesus, because they don't have a personal relationship with him, although they think they have, then they say, oh no, you cannot question the man of God. That's why you have seen some pastors even asking their church congregants to drink urine and eat grass, and it happens. And then you wonder, well, how can they do this? Because you see, somebody said religion is the opium of the oppressed. It's a drug for the oppressed. When people are oppressed, just bring Jesus to them and tell them, you know what? When you die, you'll be very well. You are going to live in Kablonga when you die. Now live in where I stay myself, compound, compound. But Mukando Marira, you will stay in Chalala. Mukando Marira, you stay in Kablonga. But for now, live on Kandolo. Eat Kandolo for now. Mukando Marira mzakajama sausage. Because Mulungu will give you a sausage. It is very easy for people to believe such kind of nonsense. And this is exactly what has happened to our country. Do you wonder how they even came up with the Ministry of Religious Affairs? To do what? That's one of the most useless things that this government ever did. Useless. Ministry of Religious Affairs for what? You have churches, you have pastors, they were running even before that ministry. What value has that ministry brought? But I'll tell you, it has brought political value. That's why now you have Christians for someone, Christians for a person. Mukrisitu amuta ya Mungu kwamba inelile Christian for Pilato.
I've never even paid attention to country for Pachabe, but I'm going to. And
then they say 18th, let's go and pray for reconciliation, prayer and fasting and all this kind of. Because they don't want to give you answers. How do you take us for prayer and fasting? You have not told us who gassed us. How do you take us for prayer and fasting? You have ministers sitting in your cabinet who are porn stars. So, I'm not saying we shouldn't be Christians. No, let us be Christians. But let us be Christians with the Nzeru.
Okay, comrade. Would you want to wind up?
Yes, I'm winding up now. Himba, if I got your name correctly, Himba brought out something very significant. And this is what I've been trying to say, but she has put it in a more clear manner. The arrogance, the taking for citizens for granted. So what basically the PF are saying to us is that all the things you have done in the past are all good. That's why I said, if you vote for the PF, you would have endorsed all their arrogancy, all their corruption, all their theft. You'd have said, we are very happy with you. Come and do it even more, even harder now. And they'll come and do us even harder. So the PF back, be prepared to be done even harder. I end here, comrade. Thank you very much for the platform.
Thank you very much, Mr. Piri, and thank you very much for everybody that tuned in. So the idea for this program and this platform is to allow as many people as possible to participate in these conversations, especially now that we're going into an election. In concluding, let me add my thoughts because I'm a citizen of this country. As we go into this election, especially young people, you must ask yourself, what does it mean to be Zambian? What is it that this country has done for you that would make you a proud Zambian? Being or voting for anyone because you like them is not necessary, because this is not a relationship. You do not go with the Karukaso, I want to use it, call it in the Chitumbuka, in Chinyanja way, but it sounds like a name, somebody's name. Go in Kumavara with Katemo. Oh, when you are choosing a tool to use for work, when you are choosing a tool, oyenda kumunda, you don't say, no, me, I'm in love with this Kachani, or so Katemwaka, Karikanika Konda, Chanchan. You don't do that. You pick a tool that is going to help you deliver, that is going to help you work, that is going to make your work easier. That is what we'll be doing on the 12th of August. We'll be picking a group of people that will manage these resources. You don't have to like anyone. You don't even need to like them. They are not your boyfriends. They are not your girlfriends. Sichikwati. If you want to pick somebody you like, and then Kasakira could go and find each other. What you are picking is you're picking a mate or a garden boy. Somebody who is qualified to do the job. It is not enough to pick somebody because of their tribe, or because you love their tribe, or because you hate their tribe. It's not necessary. What is necessary is listen to what they are saying. What are they saying they will do? If you are going to say you're going to vote for the current president and the current party, ask yourself, what have they done in this country so far at your personal level that you can say, yo, are you a young person? Do you have a job? Do you have an education? Do you have an opportunity? Do you have a business? How have they worked according to your reality? At your level, what have they done at your level? Don't just tell them to say, oh, Banamanga road, you go now. It doesn't matter if you don't benefit from that road. It's up to you to decide. That's what we are saying. So thank you very much for tuning in. And we are back tomorrow again on the same time, at the same time and same platform. Bye, bye, bye. Good night. Good night. Thank you very much, Mr. P. Thank you very much, everybody that tuned in. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Good night. Bye-bye.